Okay, so hi everyone. In regards to the Reblaze setup, so Reblaze setup is, as Oren mentioned, is based on the cloud. So we leverage from any cloud services that we can take from the cloud. For instance, load balancing, auto scaling, Anycast solution if provided, and also the CDN in some parts are integrated within the Reblaze solution. So when a client on generally is not using Reblaze, his traffic either goes directly from the clients towards the origin, or maybe he has already a CDN in place, so it goes to the CDN and then to the origin. Routing traffic through Reblaze after the setup is done via DNS. So traffic can go either towards Reblaze and then to the origin, or if the customer still wants to use his own third-party CDN, he can use that. It would go to the CDN, from the CDN to Reblaze, and then back to the origin. Reblaze has also a CDN solution, as mentioned. So in that case, if it's implemented, the traffic will be just routed towards Reblaze. Reblaze will take care of CDN inside Reblaze and then route the traffic over to the origin. As for the product itself, so Reblaze is basically, Reblaze basically provides the capability to see, monitor, analyze, visualize the traffic, of course, tweak almost every aspect of settings within the system, and you can provide a very enhanced and tight security solution for your needs, and it's not like a commodity product where you just buy it and no tweaking can be done. There's lots of layers of security that combine within Reblaze. So in Reblaze, we believe that the data itself is the most important part of the solution. Therefore, we derive from the data itself. As you can see on the dashboard, it gives you information specifically for your traffic throughout various types of timescales. For instance, currently we're looking at frame 30 minutes, but it could be different timescales, including historical data. It gives you the ability to see how many requests were being made, how many requests were being identified as human, for instance, how many requests were being engaged with bot mitigation, how many requests were being blocked. And it can give you also for a specific minute what is the statistics based on that minute. Also, it gives you the ability to look at the response codes. For instance, if your application suddenly start serving back a 404 error, you will see it over here, and you will be able to address it. So it's not just security, it also can help on other level within the organization. It could also show you, of course, the bandwidth, latency, and interesting statistics regarding the traffic for that period of time that we're looking at. So you can see the origin, where the traffic is coming from. You can see the IPs themselves that generate those traffic. You can see Reblaze sessions. You can see the URLs that were being hit. And you can also see the signatures that the system detected for that period of time. Needed to say that some signatures are OWASP top 10, some signatures are Reblaze-based signatures, but in generally, you would see all the information over here. You can also see referrals, file extension, browser signatures or user agents, ACE numbers that have been detected, and also latency based on URLs. All the information over here comes from the data itself. And the data is stored within the log, and you have the power to analyze, visualize, and see, and also filter and get to the bottom of each request. So if you're looking at a single request that you want to analyze, you'll be able to see that. So you see requests that are getting through, you see requests that are getting blocked, you see requests that are getting engaged with pot mitigation, and you'll be able to address that and see the information. If you click on any of those requests, you can see information regarding the request. For example, what is the referrer, what was the size of the request, how long it took the origin to respond back to Reblaze, what was the overall latency for that request. You can also click on the more details and see even more information, such as headers and cookies and arguments. Anything within the dashboard can be filtered. So you can look at the traffic and you can just focus on what you want to see. For instance, if I just want to see the block events, I can just add it to the filter, comma separated, and then I'll be able to see all the block events. If I take those block events and I want to analyze or visualize that in a more graphical way, I can take this filter and I can copy that to the dashboard and see on the dashboard itself what are the block events. So if I filter the dashboard now, I can see the block events themselves and not the rest of the traffic, if you're interested in that. Also, something important with Reblaze is the ability to use in different modes. For instance, I can set one site in a report mode and the other one in an active mode. And in a report mode, usually when doing onboard, you can start in report mode. The system will detect any violations or malicious traffic, but will not block that. It will mark it, so later on the log, you can filter that out and understand what's going on. Also, within the settings, as I mentioned, you have the ability to tweak and set lots of different stuff. You can create different security profile for different places within the application. For example, I have an API profile, and I have a default profile, and I have another profile named No Challenge. You can also set different time rate limits based on locations. So for example, under a rate, I have different rate limits. So those rate limits can be matched against addresses, it could be matched against cookies, against headers, and against arguments. On top of all that, we also have something that we call dynamic rule, which is more like looking at historical behavior of targets. Those could be either IPs, it could be also cookies or headers or any other criteria. At the end of the process, those violators that acted and the behavior of those actors were malicious, they will get into a block ban list. And you can, of course, control whether you want to add it to a blacklist or a whitelist or just delete it from the list. We also have some other capabilities such as DNS, CDN that was mentioned, and also SSL management if it runs on your VPC. As for the deployment itself, there are two types of deployment. One deployment would be a SaaS solution where Reblaze manage all the cloud infrastructure, and another deployment could be within your own VPC, where there are two other different types of licensing, but the deployment itself will run within your VPC. Therefore, the security is more enhanced, and of course, network latency reduced to zero. One thing that need to mention is that we can also send all the row logs using syslog protocol. So if you have a SIEM system or some SOC system, we can of course ship the row log, including all the findings that were identified within those requests, whether or not these are coming from the US or coming from the Tor network or VPN providers, and so on. I think I will leave some time for more question. I just want to show you how the system can help you understand in a very few clicks, analyzing the system, analyzing the traffic, and getting to the bottom of a certain place in time where you want to analyze. So I'm going to take a larger scale. Let's look at 1 hour of traffic. And then within that 1 hour, I can definitely see a peak over here that I want to analyze and understand what was going on over here. With just few clicks, I can zoom in on that area, and then I can zoom in again, and I can zoom in up to a second. So if I want to get to a bottom of the specific requests that were created, which was over here, I can really go and zoom in on that second and understand that there were 400 requests during that second. And if I look at the sources, I can see that most of the requests were coming from this IP and the rest were coming from other IP. Those are all cloud providers. And I can also look at the targets and see what was the request that they were requesting for. And I can see that 486 requests were coming and hitting towards slash. Okay, so with very few clicks, I can understand what's going on. I can also, if I have a certain place where I had different type of attack, for example, this one was looks like a DDoS, but other attack, you can also use the filter and of course analyze that in more details. On Reblaze, we see lots of types of attacks, as Oren mentioned. Some attacks are very common and very easy to detect, but some attacks are not so easy to detect and may go under radar. Those types of attacks, these are the ones, and also zero-day attacks, and those are the ones that are very hard to address. And with Reblaze, the ability to address, for example, zero-day attack is we have a feature that you can create your own signatures. And with those signatures, you have the ability to drill down within a request, for example, and build a filter of regular expression of attributes from the request, for example, headers, cookies, or whatever. And based on those matching, create an action that could be either a block or it could be also something else. In regards to the other attack, we've seen DDoS attack that were very slow DDoS attack, but the attack itself was aimed toward a very specific place within the application that load the database of those applications. So those types of attack, they might be very slow, very hard to detect. They are not presented in a very nice graph, but it can also be addressed. As I mentioned, we have a very advanced rate limiting capabilities. We have bot management, which is very advanced, and the bot management actually can be divided into 3 sections. So we have an active bot mitigation, which will block any request. We also have a SDK and passive bot mitigation that could be implemented within the pages itself. So binding all those things together, you get a very robust system that can really protect your assets, and you can fine-tuning and tailor-made it to your application. Any application is different. Some applications are common, for example, WordPress or Drupal or any of those common CMS, but native applications. So we have the SDK, so you can implement that. We also have with the SDK some biometrics, so you can verify whether or not someone who's claiming to be a human actually is a human by understanding whether or not they touch the screen or move their devices and stuff like that. So I will finish with that. I will keep some time for questions.